Oslo, Norway is a vibrant and unique city. Located in the southeastern region of Norway, the capital city of Oslo is home to over 1 million people, according to the CIA World Factbook 2020. As stated by Takanen in the 2020 Encyclopedia Britannica, Oslo has a strong inflow of people due to immigration, making it an ethnically diverse city. More than 30% of Oslo's population is of foreign descent, so you are sure to find a rich array of cuisines, art, and culture in this amazing metropolis. Oslo has a profound history and, according to Takanen, was called Christiania until 1925. The city was renamed Oslo in 1925 and rapidly developed following World War II through the acquisition of neighboring towns, small cities, and counties. As stated by Falleth in her 2013 paper, Oslo has been a green city since their first modern city plan in 1929. This plan supported urban forests and other green areas and led to 2/3 of the total city area used as green spaces. But as Takanen mentioned in the 2020 Encyclopedia Britannica, even with all this green space, the city continues to shine economically as a Norwegian center of trade, banking, industry, and shipping. This shows the true essence and values of the city. Sustainable development is a major component of their growth, and they do so successfully. In June of 2016, the city adopted the Climate and Energy Strategy for Oslo as their sustainability plan. The strategy was developed by the city in accordance with the Paris Climate Agreement. While the Paris Climate Agreement pertains to countries as a whole, Oslo is heavily populated and has access to an abundance of renewable energy and resources. With this in mind, the city is in a unique position to develop innovative solutions and be a leading city internationally for sustainability. They feel a responsibility for pro-environmental action. The strategy envisions an upgraded city, a new and better version of Oslo through a green transformation that increases public health, quality of life, and allows businesses to thrive. The target within the strategy is to reduce the city's carbon dioxide emissions by 50% by 2020 and 95% by 2030 compared to the 1990 levels. The strategy is composed of 16 initiatives that tie in together to create a fully sustainable city, such as densification projects, renewable energy for public transport, and even working closely with citizens, businesses, knowledge institutions, organizations, and other public authorities and agencies to develop and implement good climate solutions. The strategy acknowledges that this is a collective effort requiring the participation of the whole community, and this is done through encouraging businesses to participate through public procurements, mandating all city agencies to prepare climate budgets, and committing to transparency and an inclusive process.
Oslo has worked to address social and economic sustainability concerns within its climate and energy strategy plan. Several of its 16 proposed initiatives tie back to addressing social and economic concerns. 2 economic sustainability initiatives are the city's commitment to integrating in a climate budget within the municipality's budget and regulating of city-owned businesses to ensure that these places meet climate demands. As a 2016 Oslo Commune puts it, budgeting for climate ensures that all the City of Oslo's agencies assume responsibility for climate initiatives. Having money set aside specifically towards climate work and sustainability means that agencies will be compelled to carry out projects in this area of need, and this will result in major action towards climate efforts. Long term, this investment will pay off as climate resilience strategies will become built into the agency's establishment and work, so the money will not need to be put towards as much remediation efforts later, which saves taxpayer money for other projects. The second economic sustainability strategy, climate regulations on businesses, is also key to making Oslo more climate resilient. Here, the city government will work with the business community to procure better technologies that are more eco-efficient. These new regulations will incentivize businesses to follow suit and will lead to new technology adaptation at a faster rate than without this initiative. The long-term technologies will lead to green economic growth and new employment, as opposed to job loss when older, unsustainable technologies eventually reach the point of being forced to phase out. In addition to the economic initiatives, Oslo is also employing social initiatives to help Norwegians accept these new practices. These initiatives include working closely with Oslo's local people, businesses, and institutions, and also leading partnerships with state or public officials in order to create a system with broader change. Oslo's initiative to work closely with its people represents the government's strong commitment towards social sustainability. By working to create positive mindsets surrounding ideas of climate readiness and different initiatives being enacted, the city builds support for projects such as public transport expansion and lower emission vehicles and buildings regulations. This means that it will be easier to transition the city into investing more towards sustainability and having it be a common goal. Another aspect of social sustainability is Oslo's commitment to working collaboratively with political neighbors and higher-ups. Climate initiatives need policy support and financial investments from lots of people and places in order to become successful. For Oslo, working with Norway's national government will allow the city to advocate for more budget allocations for their climate projects, as well as create political allies to help advance a pro-climate agenda.
But what about their environmental goals specifically? As mentioned before, Oslo's main focus is to reduce the city's carbon dioxide emissions by 50% by 2020 and 95% by 2030 through their climate and energy strategy plan. The city has focused its efforts on reducing emissions from transportation and shifted away from fossil fuels towards alternative, renewable forms of energy in general. The transport sector accounts for the majority of Oslo's greenhouse gas emissions, at 61%. Most of these emissions come from personal vehicles, followed by construction machinery. Because of the significant impact, the Climate and Energy Strategy Plan deems it imperative to implement measures that reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. One such measure would be reducing the number of cars on the roads in the city by prioritizing pedestrians, cyclists, and public transport users. By making infrastructural changes that favor non-drivers, residents of the city are encouraged to take other forms of transportation other than private cars. This in turn directly cuts the percentage of greenhouse gas emissions from personal vehicles, as well as car traffic in the city. In fact, Oslo aims to reduce car traffic by 20% by 2020 and 33% by 2030. On top of decreasing the quantity of cars on the roads, Oslo's strategy plan aims to gradually phase out fossil fuel-based vehicles by 2030 and replace them with zero-emissions vehicles. To satisfy this expectation, Oslo is working toward technological developments that will result in transport solutions that require zero-emission fuels, such as hydrogen or electricity. Usage of these zero-emissions vehicles will be reinforced through the introduction of low or zero-emission zones, environmentally differentiated tolls and lanes reserved for the public, and environmentally friendly transport. Where zero-emission solutions are not feasible, a demand for renewable solutions based on biogas or biodiesel will be put in place. This push towards eliminating fossil fuel-based energy resources is certainly not limited to just transportation. The city of Oslo has already begun to phase out the usage of fossil heating oil in its buildings. On the national scale, Norway's Oil-Free 2020 project aims to phase out fossil energy for heating in all buildings nationwide, supported by Oslo's own Climate and Energy Fund. Oslo's Climate and Energy Strategy Plan also involves a project located in Furuset that will develop an energy system that utilizes energy locally and exchanges renewable energy with the central energy grid. The reduction of carbon dioxide emissions is coupled by additional efforts to actively remove emissions, mainly through carbon capture. The Climate and Energy Strategy Plan emphasizes implementation of carbon capture and storage at their waste-to-energy plant located in Klemetsrud, as it emits more than 300,000 tons of CO2 per year, nearly 20% of total annual emissions. As one of the City of Oslo's lighthouse projects, a test facility was opened in 2016, which demonstrated that 90% of CO2 emissions can be captured, and paved the way for construction of a full-scale plant to be completed by 2020. By reducing and removing their CO2 emissions, Oslo's Climate and Strategy Plan strives for major changes towards effectively achieving and maintaining carbon neutrality.
According to the Oslo Commune, Oslo is already one of the world's most sustainable cities. With that being said, finding something that needed to be improved in their sustainability plan was quite the difficult task. They have every one of their 16 initiatives mapped out and planned to a perfection. They equally involve all three major pillars of sustainability: the social, economic, and the environmental pillar. Saying they needed to improve on something regarding their sustainability plan would be a very big reach. They may have not yet reached all of their goals exactly, but they are very quickly and surely getting there. They already have their initiatives in motion and have seen the great differences they have been making, and yet they have not stopped there. Instead of waiting for their initiatives to reach their current goal, they have even already started planning new goals for a better and more sustainable city. However, one of their initiatives could use a little push in order to get it going a little more like the rest. The one initiative that would need the most attention would be the one that consists of removing all cars that are not electric plug-in or hybrid. Wanting to get rid of polluting cars and replacing them with electric hybrid cars is something they have been really wanting to get to and complete. According to Sustain Europe, however, they have been most successful in changing only the public transport methods to the renewable energy electric method rather than the private transportation methods. Taxis, buses, and metros have already been making the heavy switch to electric hybrid systems, while the private vehicles are something they can't seem to fully enforce. They have, however, highly recommended them, resulting in having all new cars be 56% electric and earning the biggest market per capita for electric vehicles in the world. If they were to keep pushing at it and explaining to the people the big difference they would be helping make, electric vehicle sales will for sure rise afterwards like they have been doing. Another thing they could do in order to reach their goal is to guarantee the price of the electric vehicles would be affordable and accommodating to everyone so that not only a select amount of people may obtain them. Making them easily accessible and affordable is something that will help those people on the fence of whether or not to get one make the change. It has been a common trend to make electric vehicles more expensive than regular cars, which inevitably results in people not wanting to change. However, if the new strategy, claimed by Sustain Europe, can give Oslo that last push it needs to get adopted into the initiative, there will be something very big there. It really does go without a say that Oslo deserves to have the grand reputation of being one of the world's most sustainable cities.